questions. Okay, that being said, I think what I'd like to do is to give the next 5 minutes before we get to our big debate. Let me make sure I'm not screwing up the time. Yes, have a few minutes to get some feedback and make some points. Something that you thought was very important, something that you learned during the sessions yesterday. So, any volunteers? So we have 3 sections. I'd love to hear some feedback from childhood cancer, from the youth young health priorities, as well as from the advocacy section. So anybody want to volunteer? All right, just go up to the microphone. And please give your name so everybody can kind of put a name to the face and tell us where you were yesterday.
Morning. My name is Sidney Tawanda from Kenya. I went to the Cancer in Focus, one of the Cancer in Focus talks yesterday. And one unique thing that came out of that was that instead of just sitting around and having long discussions, we actually kind of had a roundtable discussion that was very interactive, and everyone contributed. And we actually came up with almost like an action plan, or rather, several points that we felt we needed to work on. And we came up with kind of like a working document which we're going to share with each other and try to make sure they implement it going forward. So it wasn't just a meeting where we sat and had a good discussion at the end.
So you've got a good plan. That's great. That's terrific. Anybody else? Make sure you give your name so people will know you and maybe even where you're from.
I'm Shara Mawi, I'm from Lebanon, from Mental area. We work to prevent risky behaviors among children. Yesterday I attended the advocacy session, and it was really very interesting, and I invited everyone to join the does anyone here not on the account actually? So we should send to everyone the details about it. It's a very interactive online platform developed by WHO, where we can all share news articles about NCDs. And we also discussed with Samira and Jack how we can improve this portal to meet the needs of everyone and maybe expand it. Our main focus now is to promote it to everyone in the field can use it. You can create an account, and you can start interacting with other people from the same field and to get to know more about the field or the topic that interests you. So I would send to everyone, if you allow Dr. Michelle tonight or tomorrow, the details about how to create. I will forward your email, in fact. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. That's great. So we've heard from Kenya, we've heard from Eastern Mediterranean, and we've heard from 2 categories. So anyone here to make a comment about young health priorities? I know there were some young people in that group.
So I was in the Young Health Priorities group yesterday, and what we looked at basically what the priorities are in different regions. And it was eye-opening because even when we heard the Indian stuff that we didn't realize are almost in other places. So there's a person from India who spoke about air pollution, and that was really new to me. And even listening to it and understanding the issues, it made me as an aspiring advocate understand there are other issues around the world that we need to look at. And it was pretty inspiring because when we went through the priorities, we also looked at how we can tackle them. And the ideas that we got were nothing short of inspiring. It basically gave you all the energy and all the motivation you needed to go back to your different regions and work, because there were so much ideas about mental health, child obesity, substance abuse, and I'm really happy for the opportunity. I'm really glad we got to come together and speak about it, because I know that everyone in that session is going back with something they can use to change.
Great, thank you so much, Pierre. So I'm hearing a lot of positive information. Yes, Dr. Intihal.
Hi, good morning. I thought of briefing you on one session happened on the side in Arabic. I think I'm Imtihal Khalid. I am the chair of the Regional NCD Alliance. As part of your contribution with this forum, there was a session organized by Focp for the local community, and it was in Arabic. And this is one of also the main focus of this meeting, is to talk to the family, to the affected youth, and to listen to them and share their experience as advocate for non-communicable diseases prevention. So the session has been attended by media people here from UAE, by researcher, by parent, family, and community group, as well as some people who speak Arabic from participants. I think there was the main issue. We have listened to stories of people affected with diabetes and how they managed to modify their life, talking about obesity as a key risk factor in UAE and how they move and improve their situation, and attacking obesity and reducing obesity, leading to getting rid of diabetes at a young age. We listen to stories of people who have quit smoking and how they manage it as a youth. There was a lot of solution and outcome of this meeting, and I think Her Royal Highness Sheikh Jawahar, she was very interested in making sure that part of this forum has to talk to the community, and that was addressed in this 3 hours forum. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Intihal. I think that was very important, and that commitment to the community deserves a great deal of credit and acknowledgement, and we congratulate Friends of Cancer patients for that. Yes, London.
I'm from Ethiopia. I'm very much encouraged by various documents and experiences, how it is important to involve patient families in chemotherapy and palliative care. The one thing which I'm having hard time to understand is how at one time it is possible to give chemotherapy at the patient's house. It's not clear for me. Maybe I will try to get more information about it. It is so inspiring, and I'm very happy to learn more information from other cancer patient organizations.
Great, thanks so much, Manju. So there's obviously more learning and ideas exchanged that we got, and that's a very good topic. Yes, Catherine.
Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, I'm from Kenya. I'm with the NCD Alliance Kenya. Part of the cancer forum that we had yesterday, something which really stood out for me was the need to empower parents in terms of palliative care. Because as pediatricians were saying, the child would benefit from palliative care. But I think in a lot of our communities, we equate palliative care to terminal care. So the parents tend to be very hesitant to introduce palliative care until the very end. Whereas, in fact, if the palliative care was started a lot earlier, then better quality of life for the child. So I think it's important for us to really work with the family, even in terms of palliative care, to create that awareness and just to enhance the quality of life for whatever condition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Toshiko.
Hi, I'm Toshiko Kaneda from Population Reference Bureau. I attended the session yesterday afternoon on storytelling run by Christina, Crystal, and Diana. I sat at the table with many wonderful youth leaders and hearing their stories, and I was thinking, I'm neither youth nor NCTs myself. But then I realized that even even I have stories through my experience of losing my father to cancer and caring for my mother with Parkinson's, and I think that was a powerful moment for me to realize that I am a stakeholder as well. So to realize we all have stories to tell was a powerful experience for me. So thank you. It was a wonderful session. I think a lot of great stories came out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toshiko. I think that's an important comment because many times the caregiver is a very young person as well. So when we talk about young people and non-communicable diseases, I hope that many of you, and take this back to your country and to your to the other young people that you may be working with. We also want to make sure we're reaching out to young people who are providing care to their loved ones who have Alzheimer's, who have severe disabling conditions, maybe it's multiple sclerosis or some other issue. That is part of the family experience, and that is part of the youth experience. So we don't want to overlook that, and that's part of the power, I think, of being involved with child health, that it's a much broader range of concerns. I know we've got to get to the debate, but one other comment I want to make, well, two things. One is just to piggyback on what Toshiko said about the stories. We are very sincere about using case studies and using personal stories as part of our advocacy. And the only way that happens is when we share those stories. So for those of you who were in the group who shared stories, or if you do have a compelling story that you would like to share with us, I would like to request that you could write down a short account, maybe 3 or 4 sentences. Just send it to me by email, or you can even just give me a handwritten note, but it's probably best if you would send it to me by email, because that way I'll know how I can communicate with you. We'd like to make sure those stories are part of what we include as part of our knowledge action portal. There are a number of us who have used this as a very powerful tool, and we would want to work with you. We won't just take your stories and go with it. And we think that there's a very rich opportunity to integrate that into some of our advocacy. The other point I wanted to make is, Dr. Intihal stood up and made a comment. I would like to ask if the leaders of any national or regional NCD alliance or other coalition that is involved with NCDs, if you would stand up, if you're a leader of a regional or a national NCD-related program. Okay, great. So you can see there are a number of people who are standing. Just for 1 second, if you wouldn't mind standing. There are a number of people, and for you young people who are interested to be mentored, one of the opportunities that we have is, if you know the countries that people who are standing are from, and you're from that country, it's going to be really important for you to work with them too. And I've been in communication with some of you to say that, there are going to be young people here, and we want you to bring them into your organizations, mentor them, and help them learn to become more effective advocates. Okay, thanks so much, everybody. I really appreciate this. Now the next, we're going to move to the next session, which is the debate. And I think it's Marie Hauerson who's going to lead us. And just to kind of let you know that we are listening to everybody, we heard we needed a little more physical movement, and as I understand it, there is going to be some action here. So I will leave it to Marie, and thank you all very much.
Okay, you guys. Shakira, please. Yeah.
Okay, so you all thought we're going to have the debate now, but actually we just have a little something first. Chantal and Victoria?
Good morning, everyone. I obviously initiated something, and now I'm taking responsibility. So this is me. So if I could ask someone or anyone to just stand up, please, and you can join us, mimic. You can do your own thing. It's completely you. You do you, and we're just going to play a little bit of music and get those joints to move a bit. Cool.
It's not for the meeting, it's for Doctor.
All right, thanks guys. So, now we're gonna have a debate, and actually this debate is gonna be kind of a fake debate, because some of the people will be representing opinions that they don't necessarily have. But yeah, it's to spark up some energy. What we're gonna discuss is premature mortality, and that's something that NCD Child has been focusing on for quite some years. And really we'll discuss the definitions, because that's also a political question, how you define at what age or when you die too early. And of course, some people will argue that we'll all die from NCDs one day, and most of us will. But this definition is important because it's a political definition of when is it too early for us to accept that someone dies from an NCD or another disease. So we've got two groups for you today. We've got George and Lucy. They're on the side of arguing the 30 to 70, which is if you die within that bracket, then that's too early. That's what the definition that the UN and the WHO are using. And then we've got the other side, which is Shakira and Luis, and they are arguing from the life course approach. And I'm quite curious to hear how they define premature mortality. So, yeah, I'd like to, and there will be questions from you guys by the end of it, and there are also some cards on each seat. One is yellow, and that is this group, because Shakira's t-shirt is almost yellow. And then there is the white one, which is according to George's outfit. So, I'll be asking you sometimes during the debate who you agree with, and then you'll raise the card of the group. Great. So, I think we'll start off with Lucy and George. And first, my first question for you is, how do you define premature mortality? What does it mean to die too early?
So maybe I'll make a start. So what we're jumping for is that premature mortality should be considered for ages 30 to 70. And I want to get us thinking about why premature mortality is so important for us as a global NCD community. And we know that premature mortality is part of the targets that are set in the global monitoring framework. You know, we want to understand in different countries why people are dying earlier, how many people are dying early. And, you know, actually having a common NCD mortality target to begin with is very complex. Countries are different, they have different disease patterns, they have different health services. And so it already makes for an epidemiologically challenging situation. How do we apply one definition? But definitions are important. You know, we're looking at how do we hold countries to account? How do we support them to be able to report on what's happening? And to have a target, we need to define it. So what we're saying is that actually to have a target around premature mortality means you need something that is politically acceptable, that is feasible, that is realistic, and looks at where the most gains are to be made. So we can't look at everything in one target. There are many targets that look at adolescent risk factors, and this is where I really want to come in on thinking about why not under 30. So when we look at 30 to 70 in premature mortality, we're talking about the big four. We're talking about cancer, we're talking about diabetes, we're looking at heart disease, and we're looking at respiratory disease. And we know that adolescent mortality for those particular areas is low, but we know in 30 to 70, that's where the majority of NCD deaths are. When we look at people under 30, when we look at children, when we look at adolescents, what we're thinking about particularly is deaths from injuries, whether those be intentional or unintentional. So things that wouldn't be captured in those big four anyway. And actually when we think about young people, it's really critical not to just think about mortality. You know, when we're talking about premature mortality, it's death that can and should be avoided. So when we're thinking about young people, we also need to think about morbidity. We need to think about how are risk factors experienced, how are we addressing those risk factors. So by clustering young people in a definition of premature mortality, we don't allow us to understand actually intricacies of what results in NCDs in young people, how risk factors are experienced and develop, and what that means for later life. I want to hand over to my colleague George.
I think we'll give George the word afterwards. We'd like to hear from the other side now. What do you define as premature mortality, and what's the benefit of your model?
Well, I just have to say firstly, welcome to this debate. And you know, the fact that I'm sitting with my amazing teammate Louise. Louise is in the house, you all can give him a shout. That really, I recall Dr. Michelle saying, you know, this gathering is about youth power essentially. And I just have to say, when you started off this debate, you said the word fake. And I love it because we are the winning team, right? So, just by a show of hands, I mean, who's in agreement that we need premature mortality? No, they have the card.
I am the moderator.
So I mean, there's two things we can talk about and Louise do add on, right? But then I want to add something else as well, right? If you'd allow me. Okay. So The one is, it's unfulfilled life expectancy, basically. That's premature mortality, that's what you're asking us. But I do want to strongly disagree with Lucy, who said that capturing young people, they're covered already in any way. I just think that you're discounting the human rights, you're discounting the people that matter. And so, Lucy, I strongly disagree with you. And I don't know if Louise has anything to add on.
So, for example, when you're asking the question, when is it too soon to die? And we think about like children and youth, we have this like social justice and human rights perspective that needs to be taken into account, right? So, I just wanted to give you an example. So, for example, in 2014, when I was advocating for obesity prevention policies in Mexico, there was this really terrible case of a 12-year-old for big four that Lucy was talking about, but of course, debunking this myth that entities only affect adults because they affect children and youth alike. So, and we see the statistics. We don't have to go through them, but I think it's just important.
So, Josh, you don't think this 12-year-old died too early?
I do think the 12-year-old died too early, but I just want to caution the audience. Shakira has a charm, so she would want to win you over just by the beginning. But speaking about the facts, let's put the facts very straight. So he's talking about a 13-year-old who he believes died too early. But I'll tell you about a story of a woman called Jane. Jane is 91-year-old, and she believes that she is not going to die anytime soon. She's very strong. She takes care of herself, visits her clinic, and everything in her body is perfect. So when you talk about dying too early, we have the bias of believing that only the young are the ones who die too early. But what about the old? So one important factor that we miss when we talk about the life course approach, and for most advocates who are advocating for the young people inclusion, we forget about the age, the old people. What about the over 70s? Do they deserve to die? Do we mean that we neglect them? So when we're speaking about a life course approach, and you are telling me that we want 0 to 70, what about the above 70? What do we do with them? So when you come to the point of understanding that a life course approach is important, but we need limitations and boundaries. So that's why we're setting the boundaries from 30 until 70. Why are we setting it from 30 until 70? So let me put another fact straight. When we speak about the Big Four, everyone in the crowd will know about the Big Four. And she just mentioned about the Big Four. But the Big Four are accounted for from 30 to 70. That's why they're the Big Four. They cause over 80% of the morbidity, the Big Four, from 30 to 70. But when we go under 30, that changes. From 24 until 30, the major cause of death, which accounts for over 41% of the death, is road accidents. So when you go lower, it's no longer the Big Four. So when we have a life course approach, it no longer becomes a Big Four, and we no longer focus on these 4 important, of which these which you are arguing about when they reach 30 are even at a more risk of developing. So it's important, and I understand about the life course approach, but the more importance comes in the limitations that we're putting.
Yes, so I want to ask you as well, do you consider the years of life lost that the global burden of disease uses as premature mortality? How do you define premature mortality within your model?
So I have to be honest, I Googled this topic last night, right? And I actually found very little about it. So I want to call up 3 young people that I met at this conference. And Shane, George and Lucy, we'd allow you to do the same thing. We'd like 3 special advisors to come over and help us with this question, and then we'll answer you in the meantime. So Louise, I don't know if you're going to agree with my 3 people, or we can fight about it afterwards, right? if someone could help the young people bring up chairs if they do need chairs.
Moderator, have you allowed this to happen? She's moderating your session.
Who do you want to bring on stage, Shakira?
So there's 3 young people, and this is how you do youth inclusion and you do youth participation. I'm just saying, share the stage, show and tell. We're just livening things up a little bit. So our 3 advisors that we used, we had this amazing, brilliant, incredible survivor of arthritis, Bidi, who's from the United States. I heard the story in the storytelling session yesterday. By the way, that was fantastic. Do you know Bidi?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so we're on the same page. The second advisor, we're giving you some time to think, right? We hope you have the same sort of vehicle we have here. The second person we're calling up is Fatima. I don't know if she's here. She's from Nigeria, the Wellbeing Initiative. No? Is Toya? Yikes. Okay, that leaves one spot open. And then the third person is Joe Obia from Kenya. I see you over there, right? You gave us a story about your disease with your experience with kidney disease yesterday. So yeah, you can come up, both Vidi and Job, and then we can answer you as well. So we're just adding some special advisors to the debate. That's okay with you. Please join us on stage.
You can join the side over here. Do we have a microphone?
I just want to understand. It's 2 against 4. How is that fair?
Please stand over here next to Louisa.
Actually 5, 2 against 5.
Can one of you pick up microphone and the microphone?
Do we have anyone in the crowd over 70? Anyone over 70?
Okay. So, dear advisors, do you have something you'd like to add to this debate? Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. So most of you know, but I have psoriatic arthritis, and I was diagnosed about 6 months ago. But I've had terrible pain and was bedridden, not anymore, but for about a year and a half since March of 2017. And I also Googled this last night because while I know a lot about arthritis, I don't really know about the early mortality rates. But I do have some. So originally I was diagnosed with juvenile idiopathic arthritis, which is what I have today. There's not a lot about psoriatic arthritis. But the early mortality rates are much higher in girls with juvenile arthritis, almost 50 times greater than someone without it. So just like a regular person my age. And for I have systematic juvenile idiopathic arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, but it's systematic, and with that, the standardized mortality rate is 21.7, which is way higher than the rate of 3.9, which is among JA patients without systematic form of disease. And then the girls in this study, the rates that I just talked about, have an average of 11 years of age. And out of the 100 girls in the study, 7 died during follow-up appointments within a year. So that's 7 lives lost. And I take a lot of biologics or different medicines, and we also don't know the cause of them. They help me now, but are they going to help me down the road? And so those are the rates for early mortality rates for juvenile idiopathic arthritis, and kind of all I have to add.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joab, and to this debate, I'd like to add that I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease at the age of 24, and that would be considered early according to that too. But I think that mortality is mortality. It doesn't matter if it's early, late, and then productive. Because looking at this whole debate, 30 to 70 are considered anywhere when you're productive, you're done with school, most likely you're working. So that age group is really considered the dependent, like you're in supporting group. So that's the most productive age, and we are dependents if you're below that age, most likely, or above that age. So everyone else, I believe we still count because early mortality is mortality, you're dying, or you're going through something that is an entity. So my story of how it goes into that is that it's chronic kidney disease. I'll never get better. It's something that I manage. should really appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Tayyip Patakari. So yes, I'm going to look at this from different perspectives. I think the first thing I wanted to point out was what he said about having the 80% of the mortality between 30 and 70, and why that should be important. I think that there's a lot of things that's wrong about that. I mean, you're just saying because of the 80%, then maybe we should look away from the other 20%, which may not be the right thing to do. And then we also have to look at how the incidence of this disease is changing over time. So now we're having more younger people coming down with this than before. So yes, maybe in the past that should have been the definition. But then we are moving into this globalization where younger people are coming down with these diseases. So we need to revisit that definition. And then I think another important thing, as you were saying about the life cost approach, even if the younger generation are not deep into the disease at the moment, we know that this is a long duration illness. So it means that the young person that you are sort of neglecting might be, if the person is in a community where they are at risk of developing disease, and you have said because they are under 30, you leave them from your intervention, and you just leave them because they are not 30 yet. Over time, they might develop it. So by that time, you are just treating instead of what you should have prevented. So how about you include everybody in your process and ensure that as you are preventing, you are managing your treatment. So I really don't know how you're going to win.
Thank you so much, your advisors. Can we give them a round of applause? Okay, thank you so much. We have a lot of weight on this side right now, I feel, and I just wanted to reiterate some of the things that Lucy said and maybe hear a little bit more from your perspective. So we've been using this bracket 30 to 70 for some time now, and that's really what we're measuring in all of the different countries. So changing model might be challenging and might be confusing all of the statistics. That was just one thought that I had. Do you have something more you want to add or counter argue what just was said?
I mean, I'm happy to pick up a couple of points that were raised by young people who came up. I think what we need to understand is also that our definition of premature mortality is not excluding young people from interventions. I think we know that young people are particularly affected by risk factors. We know that actually NCDs and risk factors that develop in that period will result in premature mortality later in life. So I think certainly to say it's not about excluding young people from those interventions, and in fact the targets that we have and the data mechanisms that we have actually are designed as well to supplement that and to pick up data around risk factors that are emerging in that period. So it isn't it's a black hole of data for sure, and it's not a case of we're not measuring it, we're not treasuring it. I think, as you say, that idea of changing the model is very important. We also know that adolescent mortality is actually going down. And I think one of the things that we need to think about is actually what I heard from people speaking there was actually we need to move beyond thinking about the big four as well in terms of premature mortality. So I think that's a slightly different argument, and I think that's a conversation that certainly needs to be had.
So I think my colleagues are failing to understand that when we speak of premature mortality, we speak of things that we can modify. So these people are dying, but there are risk factors that we can modify, that we can modify. But when we speak of the under 30s, we speak of conditions, causes of death, of which are not a one-step approach to modify. And sometimes take a lot of interventions, of which when you put the effort in the 30 to 70, with the four common causes of prematurity, you get a much more effect. What do I mean? This is what I mean. I rotated in 4 different hospitals back at home. And I go to one hospital just a week before coming here, and I find a lady in her early 40s with a diabetic foot. And she had an ulcer that was so bad and it had so much pus that we were just trying to manage, but expecting that we cut off the leg. And so I did a research, and I'm currently doing a project on combating child obesity in young people. And when you tell me what can I do in terms of modifying this child's, let's say, behaviors right now, to change him from what he has been doing over the past 10 years now, maybe he's 11, he's 12, he's 13, that will change his life there and then, compared to this person who's coming with hypertension. And all I need to do is tell them you need to reduce the salt intake, you need to do physical exercise. There's a much more complexity in this younger person who is driving while drinking, who is partying and over drinking, who is using too much cigarettes. There's so much complexity. And coming to the point of adolescent and young people whereby it's a term that they're finding themselves, we need to put so much attention and effort, and sometimes the resources, compared to this 30 to 70, of which we know that these are modifiers. They have been tested, they have been proved that they are modified. And so when you modify, that's when you talk about premature mortality. Yeah.
Right. Luis, what do you have to say?
So I agree with the fact that, NCDs in young people and children, it's a complex thing. But if you take a look and you analyze the premature mortality as a conceptual framing for what NCDs are, I think it's just limited in the sense that it basically leads you to consider, between 30 and 70, it leads you to neglect these populations of children and youth, and also to take them out of the equation whenever you design policy making. So, for example, you were talking, Lucy, about the fact that, it's, even if we're talking about premature mortality between 30 and 70, it's not that we are ousting children and youth. At the end, the fact that you're not even considering in the number that you're talking about, you're literally ousting them. So, for example, there's a concept in policy, political science called legibility. So, for example, what the governments usually do is simplify a specific group, so they make them legible for them because they're really complex. It's really complex to treat someone, to address an issue. But simplifying NCDs and just saying that we're only going to look at the big four NCDs and just think about 30 to 70 without thinking about youth and children, it's literally just take them out of the equation. And it's what Shakira and I were saying at the beginning. It's a social justice thing. It's a human rights thing. So I think it's not what George was saying that we're only thinking about below 70. It's a life course approach. And even if you think, so you were talking, Maria, as well about these years of life lost. And also if you look at the disability adjusted life years, if you look at the distribution of the percentage of Dalits throughout the population, it's literally distributed almost equally throughout the different group ages. And if you look at the Dalits in children below 50 years old, so 30% of all Dalits are in this population, and then 86% of all the Dalits in children below 15 years old, they're caused by premature deaths. And these are preventable. So at the end, I think we need to think about premature mortality in technical terms, but also in the conceptual framing of what it means for this population and the population as a whole, to not even include children and youth in the equation, because at the end that leads to basically not think about policy making processes and policies to address the needs of this population.
Okay, so we've talked a bit about Dalits now as well. Do you want to just briefly define Dalits?
If I'm not mistaken, it's just on the impact in health of people below 75 years old.
Okay, so now I'd like to engage you guys. This is Team White and this is Team Yellow. Who do you agree with at the moment? Looking yellow. Looking yellow. Ooh, a white. Good, some whites as well. Interesting. Okay. I'd like to take comments or questions from the floor if anyone has anything on their mind you'd like to say. You can just stand up by the microphones and then briefly introduce yourself, please. Okay, yeah. Oh. Is there one?
Can you hear me? Okay. I tend to kind of agree with Shakira and Liz, because number one, your definition mentions 30 to 70. That's the definition you give. For example, in Kenya, I told you cancer kids. The youngest child we supported was 3 months old. My first point is, where you want to get that critical mass of productive people contributing to GDP between 30 and 70 if the 3-month-old girl doesn't get to that? My second point is, you talk about the risk factors and how they can be modified, and how it's easier to modify from 30 to 70. Let me give you another statistic. In low and middle income countries, for example, childhood cancer, 1 in 10 children will survive. In high income countries, the survival rates are 7 in 10. So there is definitely something you can modify there. Maybe you just haven't thought about that. Finally, in my last point, the risk factors you talk about can also be tweaked to the younger generation. You don't just take risk factors from the 30 to 70 and apply them to the children because they have different needs, they have different risk factors. So I kind of disagree with your argument about 30 to 70 because at the end of the day, without the below 30 getting to 30 to 70, then your big 4 doesn't exist.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I strongly stand with Shakira and Louise because it takes one to be a statistic, just one person. So one person dying can cause a social movement for change. And because our society is rapidly getting woke, per se, we are developing, things are changing, our risk factors are also changing. So it doesn't make sense judging or believing or concluding on a community based just on the fact that lesser number of people at a certain age range are suffering from a particular disease. One is as important as 100.
Thank you. Powerful statement. Yeah, Melanie.
My name is Melanie from Kenya, and I'm not going to support either team. I actually think we should not have any limit for the age, because any life is important. I lost my grandmother last year. She was about 120 years. That was so painful for me. Someone who lost a young baby because of maybe cancer or premature issues related to prematurity. That's very painful for a young couple. So let's not put a limit. And then the other point, what does religion and culture define as death? What is death? Because at the end of it all, beyond the technicalities, we are brought down to who we really are as human beings. So let's not have a limit. Let's look towards increasing the quality of life.
Yeah, can you pass the microphone to Thank you for you all. This is Tihal again from the Regional NCD Alliance. I want to support both of you. And I'll give you some background about this debate regarding the premature mortality. In fact, it is, they call it the proportional potential premature mortality among the 4 diseases, specifically cancer. And this has been debated globally for 2 years.
complete the debate goes on. First, what are the key targets we have should put for non-communicable disease? And I think everyone here in the room understands that there was no accountability previously before the debate started for non-communicable disease. So the first time they put these global targets, the 9 target, what they call it voluntary target, it was a big step forward in terms of creating NCD global accountability. And then the section would come, what target we should choose for non-communicable disease? And that was a very difficult and challenging task. So in terms of premature mortality, why they selected the age 30 to 70? Till now, you believe it or not, if I ask how many countries have accurate data about youth who are below the age of 18 or 90, very few number of the countries who can and have accurate data about what is going on in terms of risk factor and mortality. So back to you, George, the issue of when you consider any target, you need to consider feasibility, practicality of getting these data, and we are talking about globally, country of low income, country middle, and country of high income. So they selected a target which are, first they took the evidence-based research, and they took the feasibility issue. Talking about people who are 30 to 70, because there is a standard research globally agreed on, which we call the steps-wise survey, that will give you a national, comparable, accurate data. And beyond that, steps have not included the youth and have not included the children. So each country, to say, I want to bring the measurement of mortality down below that age 30, they have to make sure they have accurate data on mortality and on risk factor of that age group. So this is why globally they debated and they took in consideration what could be practical to collect and compare and benchmark on a global level. And this is why they selected that age group. Still, they are promoting each country to produce data using the stepwise approach. Other targets which has been also considered, you can see there is no obesity target. We talk a lot about obesity, but there is no obesity target. It's voluntary, and they say in the country because there is no enough evidence to back the reduction of obesity. They took hypertension, and there was a big debate about how much they need to reduce hypertension. And one country like China, she resisted and she said, make it a halt. They cannot say 25%. So I'm just giving you some of the scenario which went globally. I agree with both of you, but the feasibility and having accurate data and considering the resources in different type of countries is one of the major issues you have to consider in your debate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to see if there are more questions from the floor, and then you'll get a last round of comments. Yeah, please.
Jude, are you worried you're losing?
Okay. 3 points. One was, I was shocked when you said that there's less deaths now in adolescents, because in childhood cancer, that's not quite true. The reality is, unfortunately, there are more teens and adolescents and young adults that are not able to survive from cancer than children from 14 and below. The second thing that I just wanted to clear up was the reason for the limit of 70 is because apparently globally we're all expected to live, if you're a man, to 70, if you're a woman, to 74. Of course, in developing countries, it's a bit higher. So that's why they put the ceiling of 70. But having said that, I believe, just like you, for a policy and being a government advocate, that what gets measured gets done. And therefore, with the fact right now that we're limiting it, we're measuring only 30 to 70, and yes, it is because of feasibility and practicality, but then it also seems to send a message that because we don't have the data sets, that they are not as important, that if a child is 1, 2, 5 years old, they're losing their lives because their dependents, it's not as important to measure the loss of life than it is for someone who's productive at 30. So I think being able to advocate, to expand it from 0 to 30, because these are premature deaths. A child with cancer who survives cancer at any age is 71 life years of quality life. That's even more than the 70 limit that we have set for now. And yet, we're being told, no, that only goes into burden of childhood cancer. But one experience I'd like to point out is that globally, we can still advocate, even if at this point it does not seem practical or feasible. For childhood cancer, for example, previously, there were no targets set for childhood cancer, mainly because they were saying there are not enough registries, any cancer burden is not there. So then we said, but we don't have to measure increase or decrease. We can just say, what is the percentage of reduction of deaths? And so last year, the UN General Assembly, they finally agreed, and we now have a target for childhood cancer. So it's the same way, I think, that's the advocacy message that they bring across, that the lives of children and youth are very important, very critical, and to bring across that message and that recognition that the life of anyone, but especially children and youth, are supposed to be our future, are as important as the already productive members, and please expand it, find ways and means to get those data.
Thank you so much. Kira, last comment?
So just actually adding on to what Carmen and Dr. Hajjal said, it's been several years since the SDGs came out, but many probably remember that when they were debating 3.4, the SDG target, it initially had the premature mortality text in it. And many of the organizations in here were part of the push to have that removed. And so when the SDG indicators and targets came out, it's not in there. And so I think one thing that what Carmen was saying, or Victor is saying, is feasibility matters. Having this available data matters. But WHO and member states could show that they're making steps toward counting these young people by admitting that, maybe at this point we need to rethink this 30 to 70. Or at this point in 2019, we can't count the data. But our 5-year goal by 5 is where they're actually counting the data. And so I think it's actually, and I hate to say this from like a PR perspective, but it's optics. Like the WHO doesn't want to come off looking like they don't care about children. Everyone who works with the WHO cares about children, but we're having to have an argument that shows that they're not counting them. And so I think from a communications perspective, if we can drop the language and then start counting, it could be a stepwise process. But it doesn't need to be such a debate. If you think about it, it's kind of an embarrassing debate to have, right? Because not today's debate, right? But the fact that we're actually having to make this request of WHO, and the fact that we were able to make it successfully to the SDG mission, kind of makes me question if we're even on the same page, or if we're even looking at things the same way.
Thank you so much. Strong arguments from the audience. I'll give you guys a chance to start.
So before sitting on this chair, I was a pro-activist for the life course approach. But trying to understand it from a different perspective, I come to understand the limitations that even I have faced. So when you look at a published article that tried to look at the quantifying burden of premature mortality, It was published in the Journal of Public Health. You can look at that. It shows that 82% of the premature mortality happens in low and middle income countries. When you speak of low and middle income countries, you speak of limited resources. 2 years back, I did a study with my Ministry of Health with support of the AAP, American Academy of Pediatrics and Research. My intervention study to fight childhood obesity in secondary schools. We finished the study. We had our findings, and it shows about a double burden. We were looking for obesity, but we also found undernutrition. And we presented the work. I personally presented the work to my director of communications and the Ministry of Health. And the best that they did, or the best that he said, is to try to look for other resources, because most of them have been prioritized on other areas. So you speak of one person, whether one person matters. Every individual matters, because we are all potential candidates for any of the non-communicable, especially cancer, because some of the risk factors are even unknown. So one person matters, but to the 82% in low and middle income countries, resources matter more. The little that we have, or the little that they have, are focusing on the important that are killing hundreds and thousands. So when you speak of trying to bring an inclusion to what they might consider this person only has a risk factor, and we're trying to put a lot of resources on a risk factor, not a disease that is killing. It's quite a conversation that brings a lot of to and forth without an amount. But apart from that, just to finish up, there was a question which was asked about how about the newborns, the children who are dying at one. An example was given about childhood cancer. I try to relate it to the same. So when you speak of the prevalence of neonatal cancer, it's 0.05%. But take a look at, let's say, prostate cancer levels that has a prevalence as you mentioned. So all in all, what I'm trying to say is that makes sense, but as Ibtia just shared, the feasibility and practicality in the most affected